Yeah, I want to give you a little common sense indication of how well the baking soda and molasses protocol works. Supposedly works against cancer. Supposedly. Can't hurt. But I want to give you one indication out there because, and you know, I don't know if it would work on cats. It might. It supposedly works on any kind of living cell. And I'm showing my cat for a reason because I'm going to point something out that just using common sense, right, buddy? That this could probably works because they have this type of scan. They call it in nuclear medicine. It's called a PET scan. Remember, just like a PET, but it's called positron emission tomography. That's what it's called, right? And I'm kind of leading up to something. This is kind of another indication why you might think this thing works. This protocol with molasses and baking soda or maple syrup and baking soda. But this positron emission tomography, it's used in a nuclear medicine imaging technique that produces a three-dimensional image of a process of the body or outlines tumors or what, like if you have cancer and everything. But what they do is they'll inject in your vein some glucose. Like, in other words, molasses is glucose, pure maple syrup is glucose, but they're giving you glucose. But you know what I'm saying, the analogy and the logic is still there. They inject it in your vein. They inject a type of short-lived radioactive particle that's in the glucose. So what happens is, and you sit very still for about an hour or so, and it gets all around your body. And the idea is that if you don't want to use your muscles, though, because it'll get used up and burned up in the process of exercising, right? So you sit very still for an hour or so, and then the glucose is supposed to get gobbled up by the cancer. Cancer likes the glucose, but it has a little bit of a short-lived radioactive type of isotope or something, radioactive tracer in it called a radionuclide. That's what it is, not a positron emitting radionuclide. And so it makes a nice image when this glucose gets around where the cancer is. They can really see it really good. So that's called a PET scan. So they're using glucose with a type of radionuclide tracer in it that makes the cancer show up better on the image. So you could see there's a logic, there's a scientific basis that, and it's true, like cancer cells gobble up glucose a lot more, right? Now, the beauty of this is, like, if you're using this baking soda and molasses or baking soda and maple syrup together, it's not going to stop you from doing any kind of other conventional treatments. As a matter of fact, I saw a doctor. They didn't say like to use the molasses, but they said to take a little bit of baking soda. They're giving a person chemotherapy for cancer, and they recommended to the person to take a little baking soda in the water. They recommended it. It was an actual doctor. See, it's not going to like hurt nothing, no conventional medicine. It's not like you have to do this instead of conventional medicine. That's the beauty behind it. So what you do is you take molasses and baking soda, right? Real cheap. And you can use Arm & Hammer baking soda. You know, there's all this question like you have to use aluminum-free baking soda. Arm & Hammer baking soda, according to the manufacturer, and we saw emails from them, it's nothing but sodium bicarbonate. There's no aluminum added to it. It's baking powder is the thing you don't want to use. So you don't need to get some special aluminum-free baking soda because Arm & Hammer brand is free of aluminum. So you mix. The mixture is either using molasses or maple syrup. You use 3 to 6 parts of this to 1 part of baking soda. Okay? So you mix them together and you add a little hot water to it, just from like, you use like a coffee maker, use a little hot water, stir it up, and then, fill the rest of the glass up to maybe 12 ounces and drink it 2 or 3 times a day. And it may help. But it's not going to stop you from doing any other conventional treatments. And actually the way I look at it, it's like this. The doctor might find that giving you the $200,000, $500,000 chemotherapy treatment works a lot better by using this too. and it's going to help sell them more of their freaking expensive medicine. Actually, I call alternative medicine not alternative because it doesn't work, it's or anything like that. I just think it's so cheap for the money that there's no financial incentive for medicine to actually do too much of it, because they'll lose out on other things that are very lucrative. But there is a lot of logic behind why this works, because cancer does like glucose many more times than a normal cell. So it's like 3 to 6 parts of molasses or maple syrup to 1 part baking soda. You put it in a glass. And I know when you add to hot water, it kind of like bubbles up. So you got to use a tall glass. It does bubble up. You stir it up, and then I add like water and ice to it. I don't do this every day. I just do it once in a while for the hell of it. I don't have cancer as far as I know, so I just do it. It don't seem like it hurting me. So, but looking behind the logic behind the PET scan, the positron emission tomography scan, it seems that they're adding glucose in the blood directly with this tracer, this like radioactive tracer, to act, because the glucose is the cancer attracts the glucose, so it gets all around there. So, and then when you image it with that radioactive tracer that's in the glucose, it shows up a nice 3-dimensional image of, say, a cancerous tumor if you have one. So, I mean, if they're using glucose, they know glucose is, cancer likes glucose. So why wouldn't it, if you mix these two together, why wouldn't it work? Glucose, and here's something cancer hates, baking soda. I mean, it's not poison to the body. I mean, if you take a couple teaspoons of baking soda a day, sure, it's not unhealthy. It's not going to bother you any. But cancer, if it goes directly into the cancer and it's carried into there by the glucose, it's going to be very harmful to the cancer specifically. That's why this thing might work so good, but it's awful cheap. And I do want to state again, I remember a doctor recently, this is in the last 3 months, she said, I don't want to say her name, I don't want to say the patient or anything like that, but she told her patient who was given chemotherapy, conventional medicine, and she said to go take some little bit of baking soda and water, drink that a few times a day. She didn't mention nothing about mixing it with molasses or anything or maple syrup, but she said to drink it a few times a day. And that was from a regular doctor, conventional doctor. But she was given a chemotherapy too. So the cool thing about this is it doesn't stop you from doing any conventional medicine. So, you want to try it, go ahead. I mean, I don't see how it's going to hurt you in a million years, right? And it sure as hell ain't expensive. And I don't have any vested interest in the molasses companies or the the maple syrup trees or the baking soda. So I'm just saying, I think it's a smart thing. I do it sometimes, and I don't know if it works perfect or not, but the logic behind it makes a lot of sense.